Alright, everyone, please gather around and we'll begin the orientation. Classes, of course, don't start for a few weeks yet, but it's always a good idea to get your bearings and learn where everything is so that you don't find yourself running late to classes if you can't find something. So why don't we just head inside and we'll show you around and where you'll be staying and studying and eating and everything like that while you're here at the academy, okay? Why don't we jump inside here? Alright, well, welcome to the academy. You will, of course, be expected to be in uniform during all class hours. After hours, you are able to wear whatever you like, but during regular school hours, we do expect you to be in full uniform. That being said, there are a lot of mishaps when learning magic, so, you might end up losing a robe due to a vanishing spell, or setting one on fire, or, something along those lines, which is exactly why I've brought you to this room first. This room here is where we keep all the spare uniforms. So should you lose one of your uniforms, you can always come here and get a replacement. You'll just have to sign a form and say what you happened or what you think happened to your previous uniform, and then they will issue you a replacement. So, very important room to know. I assume that you all have your maps there. Okay, great. So why don't you mark this one down on your map? That's right, it should be glowing on your map. Okay, great. If everyone's ready, why don't we move on to one of the most important rooms in the academy. Okay, so here we are. This is certainly one of the most important rooms in the academy, and for obvious reasons. This is our school library, where you can come and borrow any book, or you can also just be here and study. It's always convenient to study in the library. It's quiet, and all the information that you might need for various research is right at your fingertips. No, our library does not use the traditional categorization. All of our books are categorized by magical subject. So you'll just want to know what subject you're looking for, and then each subject is in alphabetical order, starting from the front of the library to the back. So it makes it very easy to find exactly what you're looking for. If you can't find a specific book, we always have at least 3 librarians on hand who will be able to help you with anything that you might need. Sometimes there are odd spellings or different categories of magic that you might not be correctly looking in, things like that. Many forms of magic have multiple categories and multiple names, so you can't find it in one category. Sometimes you have to look in another, and that's where our librarians come in very handily, because they're well versed in all the books on these shelves. Study rooms? Yes, right over there we have some wonderful little study nooks. Some of them have windows where you can look out and see the grounds. There's a lovely view of our botanical gardens right over there in the center window, so it makes it kind of nice to study, and all that natural light is great for the daylight hours. And then, of course, once the sun sets, we do have plenty of candles and torches for you to study by. So, any other questions about the library here? No? Okay, well, why don't we move on to where you'll be having all of your meals, okay? Okay, so here we are in the Academy cafeteria. this is where you'll be doing all of your eating. No, we actually do not allow any eating in the dorm rooms. We found that sometimes people would mix up their food with their magical items, and it made for some very, shall we say, unpleasant situations. So we implemented the cafeteria only policy. So this is the only place in the entire academy that food is allowed, unless of course it's food related to a specific class or spell that's being worked upon. But as far as actual eating foods, this is where you'll be doing all of that eating. Oh yes, we have a regular menu every day which you can look at, and also you are able to put in requests. Our magical chefs are very adept at waving the wand to create anything that you could possibly like, so you just have to put that request in ahead of time so they have enough time to whip that up. But otherwise, we have a 24-hour buffet. Just in case you get the midnight munchies, you can always stop by the cafeteria for a little something, and it's great for breakfast or lunch or whatever else. And then there are, of course, daily specials. We really have a very highly rated cafeteria at our academy, so I think you're going to find it very much to your liking. Are there any other questions regarding the cafeteria? No? Alright, well then, why don't we just teleport over to the gymnasium? So here we are in the academy gymnasium, and this is where you'll be doing a lot of your more physical spells. Certain things like learning how to run and teleport long distances. If you're unable to fly, this is where you'll be doing most of your flying training when the weather outside is not conducive to learning such things. Things like that. And it's very spacious, and though the walls look solid, they are actually padded with a magical stuffing spell. So if you'd happen to run into any of them, you won't have to worry about breaking any bones or anything like that. After hours, yes, we do have open gymnasium in the after hours where anyone can come and practice whatever they'd like. You simply have to sign the sheet ahead of time so that everyone knows that you're coming and we don't get it filled over capacity. You'll want to see our gymnasium coordinator for more information on that, and you'll meet them when the classes season actually starts. So, any questions on the gymnasium? Okay, great. Well then, why don't we head over to another very important room. Now this is the Apothecary, which you might correctly assume is just as important as the library in the academy. This is, of course, where we keep all the various little bits and bobbins that go into the potions, various herbs and oils and dragon scales and unicorn horns and saber-toothed tiger teeth, various things like that you're going to be using when you're brewing potions for a variety of spells. Some of them have healing properties, some of them have defensive properties, different things like that. And our special herbalists know exactly the right quantities to mix for any spell. So you can come here anytime you need some ingredients and they can get you all set up. And you can also tell them what spells you're working on. And as I said, they're very knowledgeable, specially trained in all the apothecary ingredients. So if you tell them what you're doing, sometimes they can recommend a particular ingredient that might work a little bit better than what you're planning to use. So their knowledge is at your disposal. Certainly feel free to use that. Oh, yes, anything on the shelf can be used for personal use as well. However, if it's not specifically class related, you will have to pay for any of the herbs you're using. But anything, any ingredient that you're using for a spell in a class that you're studying is already part of your tuition. No additional charge is necessary. So, any questions on the apothecary? The hours? The apothecary is open during normal class hours, and then there is also one herbalist on call for the evening, so you can just pop in and ring the bell, and they'll wake up and come down and help you out with any needs that you might have after hours. So, but if you want the full line of herbalists, it's best to come in the daylight hours, during the regular class hours, because different herbalists have different knowledge, and combined they can really be a source for anything you would need to know. So, any other questions? No? Alright, well, why don't we move on to a room that uses many of the ingredients in the apothecary. So here we are in the brewing room. This is where you'll be brewing all of your potions while you're here at the academy. This will be transformation potions, healing potions, prediction potions, whatever. Any potion that you're brewing will be in this room. Why this room? This room has been carefully constructed with magic spells to keep anything magical from getting out. Some potions can be very dangerous in their ingredients, so this room will prevent any mishaps or any adverse effects from floating throughout the rest of the academy. Every care has been taken to ensure the safety of this room. It's in fact one of the safest rooms on the entire campus, so you don't have to worry about potion making ever going awry, because anything that happens will stay in this room. What happens in the brewing room stays in the brewing room, as we like to say. So, any questions about the brewing room? Oh yes, the supply closet is over there if you turn around, and in there you'll find cauldrons and stirring sticks and tripods and various things that you'll need to be brewing your potions. You will, of course, be expected to start your own fires, because you'll be learning those magic skills if you haven't already, so there are no fire-making pieces of equipment in that closet, because that, of course, is part of your grade. But other than that, everything else that you'll be needing for potion brewing is in the supply closet. Yes, there are some potion ingredients in the supply closet, just kind of your basic run-of-the-mill things that you're going to be needing, dragon's blood and eye of newt and common ingredients like that. But you will also be using this room in correlation with the apothecary, and once you get past the basic ingredients, you'll be able to bring ingredients from the apothecary to the brewing room to enhance your brew-making experience. So, everyone good on the brewing room? Okay, great. Well, why don't we move on to the stables? Take a little teleportation to the outer realms. Okay, so here we are in the beautiful stables of the academy, and this is where you'll be able to meet the dragons and the unicorns that many of the instructors fly to get here every day. Not all of your instructors live on campus, so many of you will get the privilege of feeding and caring for these animals for extracurricular activities. It gives you a few extra curriculum points if you sign up to take care of one of the dragons or unicorns. Yes, If you have a dragon or unicorn that you are bringing with you to the campus, you can stable it here as well. And then on your days off, you can always just come in and grab it and fly through the skies and, go off and have some fun. But in the meantime, yes, you can certainly keep it in the stables. Obviously, caring for your own dragon or unicorn does not get you the extra credit, but you can sign up to care for an instructor's dragon or unicorn while caring for your own as well. So, any other questions? Yes, we do allow flying horses to be stabled here as well. They just have to be down on the other end of the stable. For some reason, not all the animals get along together. The dragons and the flying horses? Well, you would think so, but no, it's actually the unicorns and the flying horses seem to have issues with each other. Perhaps the flying horses are jealous of the unicorn's horns, or the unicorns are jealous of the flying horse's wings. We're not really sure. They just frequently get into scuffles, even though they're both flying horses of a type. The winged horses just simply do not get along with the unicorns, so that's another thing to remember when you're out flying around. Try not to fly too close with unicorns and winged horses because they just don't seem to get along as a species, so we do tend to keep them separated. But any other questions about the stables? Alright, well, as long as we're already on the outdoor grounds, why don't we just teleport over to the Botanical Gardens, okay? So, here is the Academy's beautiful Botanical Garden, and you will all get a chance to work in the dirt here. This is where we grow many of the herbs that end up in the Apothecary and eventually are used for various spells and potions. This is where we grow most of them. We also have a conservatory where we can grow some of the less weather-tolerant varieties of herbs, which I can show you that in a moment, but are there any questions about the gardens? Wild herbs? Yes, we do have several classes on wild herb foraging as well, so not all the herbs and ingredients that you'll be using in your potions are grown here. You're correct, some of them must be wild foraged, but this is the garden where we grow a lot of the more domestic varieties of the herbs that you'll be using. So again, you'll all be working in the dirt here. There will be various botany classes that you'll have to take during your semester here. So you'll be spending a fair amount of time in these botanical gardens. So, and let's just teleport over to the conservatory very quickly so that you can see that. So here we are. As you can see, it's very well crafted. It's an antique, actually. It's been here for hundreds of years, much like most of the buildings on the grounds here, but this one just kind of holds a special place in our heart because it's predominantly glass. So it's really a very welcoming place, and you'll find many varieties of plants here that you've probably never seen. Some of them do not grow in the wild at all because our head herbologist does in fact breed and create some of their own, not even sure if all of them can be called plant varieties, but we'll just say plants and ingredients, things like that. So you'll be spending a fair bit of time here in the conservatory as well. So any questions before we move on? Okay, great. Well, why don't we head back into the campus and show you your dorms so you all know where you'll be staying. So this is the Hall of Dorms, and each of the rooms here has enough room for 2 students. So it's 2 students to a room. We do have a limited number of single rooms if you're someone who doesn't want to share with another student, or if you're someone who has AMP. What's AMP? AMP is accidental magical proclivity. Yes, unfortunately, there is a small number, it's relatively rare, but a small number of students find that once they begin studying magic, they tend to accidentally do it in their sleep as well. And, if you're sharing a room with a roommate, you might wake up and find out you've accidentally turned them into a toad, and there's the whole paperwork of signing forms and getting them back to human form and everything like that. So all of our MAP students are given private rooms, but we also have a few available for anyone who would simply like to have a private room. Some people just simply don't want the distractions of a roommate. And again, some people have MAP, so don't want to accidentally harm their roommate in their sleep. So if you are interested in one of the solo rooms, you'll just have to sign up for one of those before you actually begin classes here. So you still have a few weeks to do that if that is something that you would like, but I would definitely move on it because, as I say, there are a limited number of those solo rooms. But other than that, all the rooms are two-person, two-student, so you should enjoy your time on the campus, and you'll have someone to kind of talk about magic with and trade class secrets and fun things like that. So, any questions on the dorms? Okay, great. Let's move on. So, these are the teacher offices. You'll just see them glowing on your map there. You won't really spend a lot of time here, but it is important that you know where they are, just in case you should need to get in contact with one of your teachers. The hours that all the teachers are in their offices are posted on their doors because, of course, all the teachers have classes to teach, so they're not always available, but just take note of when all of them are available, and you'll be able to access them when you need to. So, moving on. This is the student lounge. So this is just a great place to relax with friends and, talk about magic or other things. Maybe if you guys want to plan a little day trip, off the grounds on your days off, things like that. It's just kind of a nice place to chillax and get away from the main study areas of the campus. So, I'm assuming probably not, but any questions on the lounge? Okay, well, why don't we move on to the actual classrooms, okay? Now this is our woodworking room. This is where you'll be spending a lot of time learning how to make your own wands and staves and brooms. You might also spend, depending on what classes you're taking, you might spend a little bit of time here making talismans and amulets and other various charms from wood that you can imbue with magical powers. So it's really a fun room. We have all the tools that you're going to be needing, and again, depending on how many classes you take, you'll be spending a fair amount of time here. Okay, this is our pantry. Technically, it's not actually a pantry, it's more like a tool shed of sorts. And so in here we keep, knives and bottles that you can use to bottle your potions, and there's salt for protection, things like that. Just various little items for the craft that aren't available in other areas of the academy, so you're definitely going to want to remember where this particular room is, glowing on your map, because it has everything that you could need that you can't find in your other rooms. Any questions? Okay, well, moving on. This is the fortune-telling room. So this is where you'll be taking all of your divination classes. This is where you'll be learning to read crystal balls and tarot cards. We have a healthy assortment of tea in the cupboard over there because you'll be doing tea leaf reading. And of course there are paper, ink, and quills in the cupboard as well because you'll be doing handwriting analysis and various things like that to predict the future. As you can see, there are hand models around for when you're learning palmistry. Really all the tools you're going to be needing for various types of fortune telling and prediction, divination are in this room, and this is where you'll be having all of those classes. Runes, yes, you'll be learning runes here as well, and there are several bags of those in the cupboard. And of course, numerology, if you take that class, there'll be various things in there that you'll be reading, there's even a few astrological birth charts, though you won't be doing as much astrology in this room. Where will you be doing astrology? Well, why don't we just head right over to the astrology lab right now? Okay, so this is the astrology lab. As you can see, it's a beautiful rendering of the actual night sky. So you'll be able to basically look live at the stars. And of course, it can be moved and adjusted depending on what constellations and things that you're studying at the time. But this is where you'll be doing all of your astrology classes because with the live feed of the stars around the world, it makes it very simple to teach that here. And that's actually one of my favorite classes. So if nothing else, this room is just so cool to be in. So I think you're really going to enjoy your classes here, should astrology be one of the ones that you sign up for. Now, here we are in the healing arts room, and as you can see, it's set up with lots of crystals for crystal healing and various colors for color healing. You'll be doing your music and sound healing here, various forms of energy healing. There's a table for acupuncture. There's an entire closet of essential oils. And of course there are some healing herbs here, though many of them you will of course be getting from the apothecary to bring into here for your various healing spells and seminars. How many of you are signed up for healing classes? Okay, so it looks like quite a few of you will be spending quite a bit of time in here. And healing is really a fun one because it can kind of give you a break from some of the harder classes that might inflict a little more damage when you do spells incorrectly. The healing spells, even done incorrectly, usually have a little bit of healing power in them. So you'll find this a very rejuvenating, refreshing room to be in with all the various forms of healing magic that you'll be doing and learning here. So does anyone have any questions on this? No? Okay, well then why don't we move on to the manifestation den. So here we are in the manifestation and meditation den. So you'll be having both manifestation classes here, and it also doubles as a very calming meditation den that you can use after class hours. Yes, anyone can come in and grab a cushion or a fluffy little carpet to sit on and meditate, as long as you respect the rules of the meditation den and be quiet and don't disturb anyone. There is no need to sign up. You just come in and grab a spot and start meditating. That can also enhance your fortune telling and manifestation abilities, which is why we combine it with the manifestation room. This is the room where you'll be learning how to conjure various things out of thin air. Kind of an instant manifestation, if you will. There's many spells that you'll be doing that with. This room, much like the brewing room, is sealed in with magical spells to prevent any of those manifestations from getting out should they happen to go awry, as can often happen when you're first learning magic, so that's why we take all of the highest precautions to ensure the safety of the students. And you'll just want to check if you do come to meditate in the den after class hours. Just make sure that, nothing's on fire or there's not some dangerous thing wandering around here that someone forgot to take care of after they conjured it. So knock before entering, perhaps, or if you learn the interior visualization spell, just kind of peek in before you walk through those doors. So, any questions on the manifestation room? All right, then why don't we move on again? Now, this funly decorated room is the history and culture room, and this is where you'll be learning all about various forms of magic throughout the ages and around the world, because of course magic, has been used differently at different times in history, and you'll want to learn about all that and when certain techniques were developed and things like that. And of course, various cultures around the world have their own spells and their own ways of doing magic. And not only is it fun to learn about these, but it can also enhance your own magical arsenal by having the knowledge of various forms of magic. So it is here that you'll be learning all of that. Any questions? All right, then let's move on. And now we are standing in the transformation morphology room. Yes, this is where you'll be learning how to turn one object into something else, both inanimate objects and living objects. We mentioned earlier accidentally turning your roommate into a toad, but sometimes it's fun to learn how to do that intentionally, under supervision, of course. And this room is where you'll be supervised in doing all of that. You're going to be learning how to turn many different objects into many different things, and it's a really, really fun set of classes that you'll be learning in this room. So hopefully you can see it glowing on your map so you'll know exactly where it is. No, not everyone is required to take any classes here. Some students get a little jittery about turning one thing into another because they're nervous that they won't be able to turn it back, which I can assure you that you will be, because we have highly skilled instructors who can do it for you even if you can't do it yourself, and they will certainly teach you everything you need to know about morphing something into something else. But if you're nervous, there are no requirements to take any morphology classes, so if it's something you'd rather not learn, there's no reason that you need to. But if you are learning it, please note where it is on the map so you can find the room when it's necessary. Any other questions? All right then, let's move on again. Now this is the tele room. No, not the telephone room. This is the tele room where you'll be learning telekinesis and telepathy and teleportation. Any sort of telemagic takes place here in the tele room, and this is where you'll be focusing on all of those things. Not really much to see here. It's kind of just a basic room, but it's important that you know where it is just in case. You should be taking classes that will be taking place here. Any questions about this one? Yes, there are various levels of all the tele skills, so in order to take the highest levels, you'll have to take the lowest levels as well, which your curriculum advisor can explain in detail to you. Don't know exactly all of what classes you've signed up for yet, but again, your curriculum advisor should be able to tell you about all of that. But this is where you'll be doing it, so any other questions? No? Okay, well then let's move on to the holiday room. Now this is what we call the holiday room. This is where you'll be observing and participating in rituals for all of the magical holidays and significant days. You know, of course, Halloween is a very big one at the Academy, and full moons and new moons and solstices and equinoxes and, all the various magical holidays. And here you'll be learning about the gates that open on specific holidays and what realms you can walk into and discover on those holidays. And as I said, various rituals, and occasionally we have special feasts and things that take place on those holidays, and they will actually take place in this room instead of the cafeteria. Yes, that's correct. This is the one room where food is occasionally allowed outside of the cafeteria. As I said, food is allowed in rooms if it's part of a spell. And while religious rituals are not exactly spells per se, they are part of your classes as you're learning about magical holidays. So various foods will be part of those. Yes. So any questions on the holiday room? No. I'm sure that you're all coming from different religious backgrounds, and anyone who does not wish to participate in the magical holidays doesn't have to. But really, it is kind of fun to learn about them, if nothing else, because as I said, there are certain types of magic that are only available on certain special days or holidays. They're not necessarily specific holidays per se, but certain days like full moons, things like that, Halloween, do contain their own forms of magic that can only be accessed at those times. So it is really great to learn about them so that you can enhance your magical arsenal. You don't have to have any religious annotations with them to access the magic on these specific days. So if you'd like to participate, you can, but you also don't have to. So but it is great to learn about them, as I say, so that you know where all those extra little magical portals are. So any other questions about the holiday room? Okay, well, that is the end of our tour, the end of the orientation. We will see you all for classes in a few weeks, and then you can start your magical education here at the Academy. Are there any questions before we all go our own separate ways here? Yes. Oh, in the closet behind me? Oh, that's nothing. That's simply where we keep the Stargate. Any other questions? No? Okay, great. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you all again in a few weeks when classes start. Okay?